Everybody's in line, ready to get in and drink their green beer. The Amendment 64 Task Force is making sure the packaging is safe for children. This is a huge historic moment in Boulder. Austin Sigg faces 18 charges for the murder of Jessica Ridgway. Coming up after the break, Jason Demers muscles in on some hockey action. You don't want to miss it. New information tonight in the investigation of the Boston Marathon bombings. New findings in regards to Joan Rivers' death after a federal investigation. A staff member allegedly took selfies with the comedian while she was sedated. Stay here as we unfold the contradicting evidence following her death. All aboard, metro area residents have a new way to get around. Sabrina Reese here with the scoop on Lady Gaga. Hawaii is bracing for the first hurricane to make landfall in 22 years. Now, a low pressure system off the coast of Florida is sparking rain and thunderstorms along the southern east coast. Otherwise, a dry autumn day across the south as this high pressure system dominates the region. A squall line moving eastward is bringing severe weather to the Gulf Coast states and the southern part of the Midwest. Heavy rainfall and flash flooding is likely with these storms. Snow continues to fall for the Midwest as that deep upper level low remains in control. We have temperatures below average, highs in the 10s and 20s. The heaviest snow will fall on the lee side of the lakes. Down into California, Nevada, and Arizona, there's going to be some pockets of heavy rain embedded with these storms, which will pose as a risk for localized flash flooding. Taking a look out west, the Pacific Northwest is sandwiched between two frontal boundaries. These storm systems are producing heavy snow, freezing rain, and also chances for flash flooding to the region. According to medical professionals, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder has become one of the most prevalent learning disabilities in America today.
But the other phenomena that's going on is there are a lot of kids who probably shouldn't have the diagnosis who are getting it.
The list of symptoms for ADHD include restlessness, impulsivity, trouble paying attention, and hyperactivity.
Can't control their behavior or cannot concentrate.
Many believe that these are all traits that can be used to describe children in general, which has some worried that this disorder is being overdiagnosed.
I think you just have to do it case by case. And yes, we use it too much. It's an easy fix.
The major concern over an ADHD diagnosis is the solution. Children who are treated for ADHD are prescribed a regimen dose of amphetamines, such as Adderall, Ritalin, or a number of other stimulant medications.
If used correctly, these are not unsafe medications. Many pediatricians are becoming more cautious about this diagnosis and treatment.
Happy first full day of fall. I hope everyone's enjoying the seasonal change. Let's take a look at the current temperatures. A lot of regions are still feeling the summertime heat. Temperatures are ranging from the 60s to triple digits. Doesn't look like you'll be needing to bust out your boots and sweaters just yet. WeatherSphere followers have already been submitting their fall photos. This vibrant photo was taken in Montana. Wow, those leaves are really starting to change. This is another shot of fall leaves taken in Montana. Thanks for sharing. In Aspen, the leaves on these trees look magical. The leaves are really starting to turn in Wyoming. Thanks for sharing this photo. Moving along to the west coast, here's what Eugene, Oregon is looking like. Fall is in the air. We'd love to see your autumn photos. Thanks for watching WeatherSphere TV. Vote after vote, Amendment 64 committee members are hammering out regulation proposals that would make marijuana mainstream.
We're really trying to make sure that what we're doing is the most effective and efficient regulatory scheme.
Packaging requirements.
Making marijuana legal is far more than just taxing it.
In childproof containers, appropriately labeled, with appropriate education so that we can minimize the contact with people under the age of 21.
Other than regulations and safety, the committee also heard concerns from local business owners.
We're pretty confident that medical marijuana is now the most taxed industry in the entire country.
I want to make sure that everything is done appropriately and that we're not placing undue burdens on the businesses.
In Denver, Sabrina Reese, CBS 4 News. Hello, I'm Sabrina, and you're watching WeatherSphere TV. Let's see what's happening with the largest fire in the nation. We spoke to Chief PIO Daniel Berlant to get the latest update on the King Fire in Northern California.
So the King Fire has continued to be active. Now, it has not been as active as it was last week when it burned about 50,000 acres in less than 24 hours. But our crews have continued to battle this fire. We're working against dry conditions, gusty winds, and high temperatures. Though our crews are making progress, there's still a lot of work to be done, and today this fire continues to be very active. Now, come tomorrow, we should see some rainfall, some cooler temperatures. Obviously, that is going to help. It does bring a whole host of other challenges for us, but we are hoping that that rainfall will help us out and will moderate the fire activity. Right now, the fire is 38% contained. We still have over 7,500 firefighters on the front lines battling the fire, working 24 hours a day to finish that containment line. But it's the drought conditions that continue to pose such a large challenge for us. The brush, the trees, the grass are much drier than they typically would be, and because of that, we're seeing a lot more fire activity, faster moving fires, fire behavior that we would typically see at the peak of fire season, and that has caused us a challenge all year long. In fact, this year we've responded to about 1,000 more wildfires than in a typical year. Last year was a busy fire season for us as well, though this year, due to the drought, it has continued to get worse and worse. We're seeing a lot more fires and a lot larger fires. The King Fire is a perfect example with over 90,000 acres burned. Fires are much more active because of the drought, and if we don't get a good amount of rainfall this winter, which unfortunately there is not a lot of rain in sight, next year could be even worse, and that's why we continue to brace for it.
Take safety precautions in your area and have your fire drill plans on hand. Thanks for watching WeatherSphere TV. Stay tuned for your latest updates. Sabrina here, and you're watching WeatherSphere TV. Let's take a deeper look at solar flares. We have Jeffrey Newmark, the Heliophysics Division Director from NASA, on the phone. Jeffrey, can you explain a solar flare?
The sun generates is like a big magnet. It generates its own magnetic field, and at times this magnetic field gets wrapped up, sort of like a rubber band being twisted and turned. And occasionally, what happens is when you twist and turn this enough, it does a quick snapping, like a rubber band might snap, and it releases a lot of energy. And that's the solar flare.
How will this affect the Earth?
They have multiple effects. So from the NASA point of view, again, we're doing the research, the science, so we find these events very exciting to look at. They from our scientific aspect. There are, and again, you could talk to NOAA Space Flight Prediction Center for the details and the impacts, but they do impact our technological society, and this is something that NASA cares about, our own spacecraft as well. These charged particles can have an effect on communications. They can affect electronics on satellites. There are effects that can be felt on electrical systems on the ground, power grids, airlines, communications. So there are effects, but NASA's interest is more on the science side of that rather than the effect side.
What's the correlation between solar flares and the northern lights?
It's these solar storms that when the impact, so you can think of these, we call them a magnetic cloud, in fact. So these charged particles travel from the sun throughout interplanetary space. The Earth is also surrounded, we know it has its own magnetic field. That's where you can use a compass. That magnetic field extends out into space, and it actually shields the Earth. So this cloud, this magnetic cloud that's traveling through space, as it interacts with the Earth's magnetic field, then what happens is the particles can get channeled, follow the magnetic field lines down towards near the poles. These charged particles then can accelerate our upper atmosphere, and they generate the northern lights. So these storms are actually the cause of of the northern lights. And in fact, the next few days we should actually see some really nice aurora from this latest storm.
Thank you, Jeffrey. If you'd like to learn more about the northern lights and the best locations to view them, visit weathersphere.com/news. Droughts are one of the most expensive weather occurrences. The United States is extremely susceptible to social, economic, and environmental impacts of drought. You may have heard that California is under a massive drought, but how serious is it? Governor Brown declared a drought state of emergency in January and directed state officials to take all necessary actions to prepare for shortages. Southwest California is facing D2 on the drought scale. The Central Coast into the Valley and up into the Bay Area is ranked at a D4, which is one of the highest on the drought scale. Hello, I'm Sabrina. Here's your national outlook. A mild day in store for the Northeast. We have a few showers developing over New York and West Virginia. Otherwise, the area remains dry. We have temperatures sitting in the 60s and the 70s. Unsettled weather for the remainder of the eastern U.S. as a strong cold front and closed low move eastward. Rain and thunderstorms from the mid-Atlantic states, also down south and up into the Midwest. We have temperatures sitting in the mid-50s to 70s. Strong cold air advection is following behind the frontal boundary. Temperatures plummet into the 40s and 50s for the central and northern plains. Freeze watches along with wind advisories have been issued for eastern Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and up into the Dakotas. Wind speeds up to 35 miles per hour with gusts over 40 miles per hour are expected through early this evening. It's a different story along the west coast. An upper level ridge is creating warm, calm conditions. The Pacific Northwest is sitting with highs in the 60s and 70s. We do have some clouds overhead as we move down to California and the desert southwest. We have temperatures that are cranking up, highs in the 80s and 90s across the region. Willie submitted this awesome video of an apple tree. It's perfect for fall. Thank you so much for sharing. Subscribe right now to get your latest weather updates.